Good evening, Red Star Rebels. It's December 9th, 2022. This is Season 2, podcast number 34, and we are Red Star Report. I'm Hal G. Lohr, and this is Voices for the California Nation. For those keeping track, tonight's podcast will be the second to the last podcast Red Star Report will be doing for our 2022 season. And with the end of our season in mind, we'd like to introduce a new and recurring international segment to all our Red Star Rebels. Straight out of Edinburgh, Scotland, it is with great pride and great pleasure that Red Star Report introduces the Saltire Report. With your host and friend of the California independence movement, Scottish independence activist and Scottish National Party member, Aeonghus Brownlee. More good stuff, Red Star Rebels. You're welcome.
Hello Red Star Rebels, my name is Aeonghus Brownlee and this is the Saltire Report. This new segment aims to keep you informed of the big news coming out of Scotland with updates and explanations on all things Scottish independence. This first episode, we're going to look back at the significant events of last week, those being the UK Supreme Court's ruling on whether or not the Scottish Parliament can hold a referendum on independence without the permission of the UK government, and the response from the independence movement. But before we get to all that, a bit of background context. First, you need to know that there are two mainstream pro-independence political parties here in Scotland, those being the Scottish National Party, or SNP, and the Scottish Green Party, also known as simply the Greens. Now, the SNP is led by Nicola Sturgeon and is politically left of centre, social democratic, civic nationalist, pro-European Union, and is Big Tent, which is a mix of non-extreme political ideologies like liberals, conservatives, socialists, social democrats, etc. It's the largest political party in Scotland, both in terms of membership and the number of elected parliamentarians in the Scottish Parliament and Scottish MPs represented in the UK Parliament. Now, the Scottish Greens are led by Patrick Harvie and Lorna Slater, which is politically left-wing, eco-socialist, environmentalist, pro-European, and favours a Scottish Republic. They're the fourth largest party represented in the Scottish Parliament and by membership numbers in Scotland, ahead of the Liberal Democrat Party. Both parties have had representation in the Scottish Parliament, commonly referred to as Holyrood, since it was reconvened in 1999. Now, back in May of 2021, elections to the Parliament were held, with all 129 seats in the unicameral chamber up for grabs. Both the SNP and the Greens stood on manifestos that explicitly supported holding a new referendum on independence. In the election, the SNP won a record number of constituency seats and the Greens achieved their highest share of the regional vote and seats in total. It's also worth quickly mentioning that MSPs are elected using a hybrid electoral system called the additional members system, designed to be more accurate and reflect the votes cast in the election compared to the first past the post system. So, there is a mandate for a referendum, an instruction from the Scottish people, as Scotland's Cabinet Secretary for the Constitution Angus Robertson puts it, in the form of an historic parliamentary majority of pro-independence parties. In August 2021, the SNP minority Scottish government, headed up by Nicola Sturgeon, who was re-elected Scotland's First Minister, initiated talks with the Greens to form a majority government. This was not a traditional coalition, but an agreed set of policies between the two parties, with anything outside the agreement considered a free vote issue. As part of the agreement, the Greens would also get 2 junior ministerial posts in the Scottish Government, becoming the first Greens to enter government anywhere in the UK. The proposition was taken to party membership, and both voted over 90% in favour of the Butte House Agreement, as it was dubbed. In June this year, the SNP Green Scottish Government published the Scottish Independence Referendum Bill, with the referendum scheduled to take place on the 19th of October 2023. However, the bill's passing was paused to allow the UK Supreme Court, by request of the First Minister and the Lord Advocate of Scotland, to determine whether or not the Scottish Parliament has the legislative competency to hold a consultative referendum on independence. So last week, on Wednesday the 23rd of November, Supreme Court justices delivered their verdict. They ruled unanimously that, under the current scriptures of the Scotland Act 1998, the Scottish Parliament does not have the power to hold a referendum on Scottish independence without permission from the UK government. Following the verdict, SNP leader Nicola Sturgeon held a press conference thanking the Supreme Court justices for taking on the case in the first place, saying that while their verdict was disappointing, of course, she respects the outcome, and that the political responsibility now lies in the hands of the Prime Minister and the UK government to respect democracy and get round the table with the Scottish Government to deliver the referendum people in Scotland voted for in 2021. She also reaffirmed that, in the absence of an agreed referendum between the two governments, as happened in 2014, the SNP will be treating the next UK general election as a de facto referendum. Scottish Green co-leaders Patrick Harvie and Lorna Slater responded to the ruling by reiterating that there exists a democratic mandate for a referendum, and that if the UK government continues to ignore that mandate, then the union is not voluntary, but is being imposed on the people of Scotland without our consent. The Greens will also use the next UK election as a de facto referendum, as confirmed by Ross Greer MSP, while asking questions to the Constitution Secretary Angus Robertson in the Scottish Parliament.
Can I start off by correcting Douglas Ross? Not only did the SNP and the Greens win more seats than the opposition at last year's election, we won 16,057 more votes than the anti-independence parties combined. And we did so on the basis of manifestos which committed to giving the people of Scotland a choice over their future. The onus is now on the UK government to explain how, if this is a voluntary union, a part of that union can decide whether or not to stay or to go. But in the absence of any alternative being put forward by Westminster, though, does the Cabinet Secretary agree with me that every vote cast for pro-independence candidates at the 2024 general election will count towards that mandate for Scotland's independence?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, indeed they will, and as Democrats, it behoves all of us to embrace every democratic opportunity to secure democratic change. In a democracy, however, it also behoves other political parties with different views to uphold the basic tenets of democracy. And overlooking and disregarding election results where one can clearly see, because of the numbers on these benches and these benches being less than the majority of this Parliament, it is these parties which are opposing the democratic mandate which sent us all here.
By the early evening, rallies in support of Scotland's right to self-determination were underway across the nation, as well as in London and cities across Europe, with Nicola Sturgeon herself giving a surprise speech to hundreds gathered outside the Scottish Parliament.
We are here as representatives of Scotland's independence movement, a movement that will grow in numbers with every day that passes. But today, our independence movement also becomes Scotland's democracy movement. Now, the Westminster establishment may think it can block a referendum, but let me be clear, I am sure on your behalf today, no establishment, Westminster or otherwise, will ever silence the voice of the Scottish people. Independence is not an abstract notion. Independence is about the prosperity of our nation. It is about the equality of our nation. It is about the internationalism of our nation. It is about building a better, fairer, more equal Scotland for this and generations to come. This is a movement. This is a movement I have been proud to be part of since I was a teenager, and it is a movement that I know is destined to win the independence of our country. So let us rededicate ourselves to that task today. Let us make sure that we take this message to every part of Scotland, because what has been shown beyond any doubt today is that the only route to equality for Scotland within the British family of nations is by Scotland becoming an independent country. Let's get to it, my friends. Let's win our independence and let's build the Scotland we know is possible. Thank you all very much indeed.
Channel 4 News commissioned the first poll following the judgment, with 50% of Scots asked responding they would vote SNP in a general election if their victory led to Scotland becoming independent. Looking towards the 2024 UK election, the SNP will hold an emergency party conference sometime in the new year to discuss how a de facto referendum campaign would be fought and what the party's policy manifesto would look like. The election is scheduled for 2024, but given the general instability of the UK government, it could happen sooner if the Conservative Party administration collapses entirely. You may have heard in the news that we've had 3 Tory Prime Ministers this year alone. So, in future we'll look at the Building a New Scotland series of papers outlining the Scottish Government's vision and policies for an independent Scotland, and of course all the news that comes out of the SNP's emergency conference about the 2024 election / de facto referendum. If you have any other ideas for topics you'd like me to cover in this segment or any feedback, please leave them in the comments. And if you want to know more about the history of Scotland's independence movement, you should check out my interview with Darren Brown for the California Dream podcast. That's here on YouTube as well. But for now, I'll just say, Tapa Leaf Ersin Coed, and Hia Gudian.
Thank you, Angus. Thank you, my friend. That was the first installment of Saltire Report. With all the talk of division in American politics and the growing media chatter about a coming Civil War 2.0, it's no great secret that we who support the California independence movement have looked to the Scottish independence movement for hope and inspiration. From the early days, when the word Calexit morphed out of Brexit, it's actually been Scotland's example of sustained and peaceful national separation that Californians dreaming of a country of our own have held as an example of the right way to do it. Not with bombs or guns, but through negotiation and a respectful recognition of a separate national identity. Fingers crossed. Angus, keep us informed. Next up, Activism in Action with Shankar Singam. Shankar lights a flamethrower and talks about fascism, gas prices, and your elected representatives. And that starts now.
Gas prices in California have increased by a record 84 cents per gallon in just over 1 week. That's a $2.50 difference compared to U.S. prices.
Big oil is ripping you off. $63 billion, $63 billion in profit, just over a 90-day period.
It just doesn't add up. The degree of diversions from the national prices has never happened before. And oil companies, they provide no explanation. The fact is, they're ripping you off. Their record profits are coming at your expense.
This price gouging has to stop, and that's why we introduced a price gouging penalty here in the state of California. It's time to hold big oil to account.
And that's why today I'm calling for a windfall tax to ensure these profits go directly back to help millions of Californians who are paying for this oil company extortion. We're not going to stand by while greedy oil companies fleece Californians.
This is our country, folks. Thank you, Hal. Welcome, Californians, to the United Fascists of America, the broken United States of fascism, folks. That's where we live right now. And it's more evident, 100% clear, when you see what the governor has in store for these oil companies who have been fucking us at the pump for years, folks. They've been fucking us. You knew they've been fucking us. I knew they've been fucking us. Nobody wants to say that they're fucking us. Nobody in the media wants to say that they're fucking us. None of the Congress members our Congress members want to say they're fucking us. Shh. Nobody say anything that the oil companies have been fucking us for years. Californians for years. Nobody say a thing. And now Newsom brings it up. For some fucking reason, Newsom wants to bring this up. I don't know why. Maybe he's using it as leverage or something, but he comes out with the proof, folks. He comes out with the proof showing, and AAA comes out showing that when Californians pay $6.50 a gallon of gas, the rest of the country's paying $2.82 a gallon of gas. And the reason for that at the time when we ask him, refinery problems. Supply problems. War over here. War over there. Every excuse under the fucking sun. And then that quarter, they show record profits. Record profits off of, and that's California money. Straight up California money. We get screwed every fucking day, folks, by the United States. And nobody says a thing. Nobody does. Whenever there is a rainstorm or whatever in Texas and some of their houses blow down or whatever, or it's a flood, FEMA there instantly, right? Florida comes over and I guess some wind blows and it wrecks a couple of houses and stuff, whatnot. FEMA there instantly. Contractors there instantly, right? They get FEMA, lickety split. California is plagued with forest fires, wildfires. Where's FEMA? We get no FEMA, so much so that we had to start our own fire insurance program by the state fire. So our residents will be covered and will have some money after their home burns down because we can't rely on the national government. Once again, we get hosed. And the gasoline, we're getting hosed again. It's more proof, folks. And where's your Congress members? Where's Congress coming out saying, hey, Californians are getting screwed? Where are the other states going, hey, how come we're getting it so cheap? Why California? Why are you getting it so expensive? Now, not one bit of concern or care from any other state, any other rep. Nobody gives a shit, right? Let California fucking deal on its own. And we sit here and we fucking take it because we love the United States, right? They got our backs, right? They got our backs. Let me just show you how the United States fucks over other Americans, right? The rest of the country recently. So recently you had every railroad worker about to go on strike. If they go on strike, this country and its businesses tend to lose almost $5 billion a day, folks, across many industries, okay? The railroad is a very powerful lobby, okay? And now its workers want 7 days of sick time. Those limey bastards. How dare they? They don't get any sick time. 7 days of sick time, folks. That's what you and I get. If you have a full-time job, we get 7 days of sick time. It's required by law. In fact, Obama wrote it by law that if you work 40 hours a week, you get 7 days of sick time. It's common knowledge. Everybody knows this, right? We all get it. You know what else was in that law that Obama signed? That he signed that exempted railroad workers. Because that's what the railroad lobby wanted. No, you can give it to the rest of the United States. Railroad workers have to work every fucking day. Low pay. No breaks. Get the product to the destination. Right? So they're going to go on strike, and their union negotiates with the railroad company, who says, hey, why don't we give it to Congress to decide? All right. So now Congress is going to decide. Does the unions have enough pull or strength? Are they paying Congress enough? Is the railroad union paying Congress as much as the railroad companies? Fuck no, they're not, right? They barely have any fucking pull. So now the railroad workers who believe in their union, who shouldn't have, say, okay, we'll let Congress decide. It goes to Congress, and they immediately split the bill. One bill goes to the Senate. The other one goes to House of Representatives. The Senate gets to vote on 7 days of sick time for railroad workers, yes or no. And the Congress gets to decide, House of Reps gets to decide, railroad workers protesting, illegal or no. So one is for sick time. The other one says, if railroad workers protest, it's illegal. Guess which one passes and guess which one fails, folks. That's right. They voted no on the 7 days, and they voted yes on illegal to protest for railroad workers. Big surprise there, huh? The fact is, even before they even brought this up to vote, they already knew it was not going to pass. There's no way it was going to pass. We can't have these workers taking days off. We need products and goods delivered. Make it illegal for them to protest? Of course. Problem solved. And this is the progressives in Congress. This is the Republicans, the Democrats, the progressive end of the Democrat Party. These are all the leftists that you have voted into power. They all fucking voted for this shit. AOC, Ilhan Omar, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all the fucking rock stars in the Democratic Party fucking knew they were never going to pass this. AOC comes out, I'm fighting for the workers' rights, and she's fighting for the low. She ain't shit, folks. She's full of shit. Congress is full of shit. The United States is full of shit, folks. And California is fucking paying the price. At the pump, with our homes, through our labor. And now we have an openly fucking racist motherfucker running to be president, folks. And that's who we're up against. And he has a damn good chance of fucking winning. I don't know how else to say it to you. The United States is broken. It's fucking broken. If you think the United States is going to fix itself, so much so, and not screw this state or screw any of their own residents, you're pipe dreaming it. You're pipe dreaming it. Fuck the Democrats. Fuck the Republicans. Go check out CaliforniaNational.Party. Go check out any other political party. Please. Don't vote Democrat. Don't vote Republican. Not in California. That's all I got. Back to you, Hal.
For those out there who are not understanding this fascism in its true form, at its core is corporatism, where government policy is usually framed by corporate interests. So what does it say when the United States government is ignoring the fact that American oil companies are purposely fucking over 40 million Californians on gas prices? The truth is, the American fossil fuel industry is doing this to punish 40 million Californians for demanding clean air standards and corporate responsibility for climate change issues that the U.S. government is too cowardly to enforce on a national level. Simply put, Californians pay at the pump for taking fiscal and environmental responsibility that red state America ignores. Then, to add insult to injury, Californians pay for FEMA insurance through federal taxes that climate change denying freeloader red states benefit from while Californians suffer without. Those are the facts. And Shankar is right. It's not going to change until Californians control their own destiny. Count on it. For our closing segment tonight, Red Star Rising host Matt Owen brings us the opportunity to listen to Muwekma Ohlone Tribal Vice Chairman Monica Arellano discussing the dedication of the first Chochenyo trail marker at Coyote Hills Regional Park and the importance of tribal land in California being recognized locally in places like Coyote Valley and the Greater Bay Area. Another chance not only to listen to the message from California's indigenous people in their own words, but in this case, in part, an opportunity to hear that message in their own language. And we at Red Star Report thank Monica Arellano and the Muwekma Ohlone people for that opportunity. For those unfamiliar, Muwekma Ohlone tribe are a California indigenous people who trace their origins from the indigenous tribes who have lived in the San Francisco Bay region for over 10,000 years. This event was held Sunday, November 27th, 2022, and was witnessed for this episode by Red Star Rising host Matt Owen.
We are Muwekma Ohlone. Welcome to Muwekma's ancestral homeland, where we are born. Menemu nepetuhi exuyakma Muwekma. Maki mak Muwekma wulunam. Apoit makwaret mani makisu. On behalf of our people, Muwekma La Gente, we would like to offer an official welcoming to our ancestral homeland within the ethno-historic tribal territory of the Tuibun, Alson, Chocheño Ohlone speaking tribal group. We welcome everyone in attendance at the Chocheño Trail marker unveiling at Mayan Shatoshikma, Coyote Hills, in the city of Phoenix. To our Honshewada, our beautiful ancestral homeland. We would like to thank East Bay Regional Park, members of the board, Ms. Lane, and Christopher Suatz, for collaborating with the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and the Muwekma Language Committee on the special Chocheño Trail Marker project that began in 2016. We would now like to read the following Muwekma Wulwulam Wareptashu, Muwekma Ohlone Tribal Land Acknowledgement.
Hoshatuhi, Maksiakma, Ae Makachokma. We greet you in our native Chocheño language. Good day, our family and friends. We would like to recognize that all we come together in the Mayan Shatoshikma, Coyote Hills Regional Park. We are gathered on the ethno-historic tribal territory of the Tuibun, Elsa, Chocheño Ohlone speaking tribal group, who are the direct ancestors of the lineages enrolled in the Muwekma tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. The present-day Muwekma tribe, with an enrolled Bureau of Indian Affairs documented membership of over 600 members, is comprised of all the surviving lineages. It's comprised of all the surviving American Indian lineages, averaging to the San Francisco Bay region, which is our tribe's ancestry from the Mission Dolores, Santa Clara, and San Jose. During the advent of the Hispanic European Empire in Alta California, the Muwekma tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area are successors and many members of the historic sovereign, highly recognized Royal Bank of the island.
The land on which Coyote Hills Regional Park sits was and continues to be of great significance for our Muwekma Ohlone people. The park extends to surrounding areas that held a kupendok, a traditional roundhouse, a place of celebration and ceremony, as well as nearby ancestral heritage shell mound sites, which served as our traditional cemetery sites and burial monuments.
Fremont, where Coyote Hills is located, is viewed as a special place, and we respectfully acknowledge that it has been settled for millennia. It is established within our ancestral Tuibun, Alson, Ohlone tribal ethno-historic territory, which includes the ancestral and legally unceded lands lineages are directly descended from ancestors of the Tuibun, Alson, Chocheño Ohlone speaking tribal group.
As we gather at Mayan Shatoshikma, Coyote Hills Regional Park, It is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we stand, but also we acknowledge that we, the first people of this place, the Muwekma people, are alive and flourishing members of the Fremont and greater San Francisco Bay Area communities today. Because of the tenacity and tuiheshte, strength of our ancestors and elders, that Muwekma, our Ohlone people, have been able to keep our culture and Maknono alive, our language. And we have never left our indigenous land. Today, we repair the sustained damages of colonization. And we are focused on keeping our traditional culture strong, while we work for a bright and favorable future for our children, Mak Shininikma, as we follow in the footsteps of our ancestors.
It is important to acknowledge the significance of this water, land to the indigenous Muwekma people of this region and other familial descendants of the Verona Band. We ask anyone who visits Mayan Chatushikma, Cowdy Hills, to be respectful of our Aboriginal lands and natural habitats, and consistent with our principles of community, diversity, and inclusion. Strive to be good citizens on behalf of the Muwekma tribe on whose Aboriginal lands you are our guests. Maki Shorshe Ekina, Utashput Maka Makiwe. Thank you. And on behalf of the Muwekma tribe, we hope to celebrate, honor, and stand in solidarity with all Muwekmas, indigenous tribal communities, with their struggles to reverse the adverse colonial legacies affecting all people of color in Fremont, the Greater Bay Area, California, the United States, and the Americas, as we gather and reflect on the sacred lands of the ancestral and historic Muwekma tribal territory.
To restore our federal recognition status. So we've been in this fight, submitted a petition to the Branch of Acknowledgement and Research, to the government in the early mid-1980s. So since then, we've been fighting to restore our status. We're not giving up. So, God willing, we'll have some legislation introduced to help us. We do have friends and supporters, and we tried earlier this year, Senator Dave Cortese, he introduced SJR 13, which was unsuccessful, was not even heard. It kind of died in the governmental committee. Senator Dodd would not hear it. We did have a lot of supporters call in to support that SJR 13, and it just fell on deaf ears because they would not vote on it. But we're not giving up. We're hoping to introduce again soon legislation, and we have many people supporting our effort. So God willing, we will receive our recognition soon.
I'm with the California independence movement. The restoration of California's sovereignty and yours would go hand in hand.
Well, we appreciate the support. If you visit our website, muwekma.org, muwekma.org, as soon as you enter the website, a prompt pops up and it says various ways to support our tribe. Write your legislator, support a bill. There's just different ways to support our recognition effort. So if anyone's able to visit that website, you get much more information on how to support our tribe. And we appreciate the support.
Thank you. And we appreciate your efforts. Viva Gran California Libre.
Sí.
As of this date, Muwekma Ohlone people, like many California indigenous tribes, are fighting the legal battle for recognition as a sovereign nation. A fight made ever more difficult by the all too familiar dysfunctionality of the U.S. federal government. But for now, we congratulate the Muwekma Ohlone people for a successful event and encourage anyone looking for more information on the Muwekma Ohlone tribe to visit their website at www.muwekma.org. That's www.muwekma.org. And honestly, I can think of no better way to wrap up tonight's podcast than with the following Muwekma Ohlone quote. Justice can come in many forms, but only through truth can you achieve justice. And to speak truth to power, you must first know the truth. We are Red Star Report. That's it for Red Star Report Season 2, number 34. For more Red Star Report information, check out our website at www.redstarreport.com. Subscribe to our Red Star Report YouTube channel. Go to our Red Star Report Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. Give us a like. Please give us a follow. Because if you want to support the real California Independence Movement's media group, it's all about the algorithms. Our thanks to you and our Red Star Rebels for watching. We are Red Star Report.